Captain Taemin stood on the bridge of his ship, the GSV Horizon, staring at the emergency message flashing red on his screen. The words made his blood run cold. Another attack. Another world going dark. The creature they called the Devourer had struck again. 3 months ago, it had been Colony Prime in the Outer Rim. Before that, New Sol Station. Now it was heading toward the research facility on Kepler 442b. Every time, the pattern was the same. The creature would appear without warning, tear through defenses like they were made of paper, and leave nothing but silence behind. The Galactic Council had given it the highest threat rating possible, Classification Omega 9. That meant shoot, on sight if you were lucky enough to spot it first. Most people never got that chance. Dr. Bo-Ra pressed the emergency transmit button in her laboratory on Kepler 442b for the third time in 10 minutes. Her hands shook as she tried to keep her voice steady. She was the head scientist at this small research station studying alien plant life from distant worlds. It was supposed to be quiet work, safe work. This is Research Station Alpha 7. Calling any available ships, she spoke into the communicator. We have detected massive energy readings approaching our location. Request immediate evacuation support. Her assistant, Hyun-woo, looked up from his monitoring equipment. His young face was pale with worry. Dr. Bo-Ra, the readings are getting stronger. Whatever it is, it's big. Really big. Through the thick glass windows of their laboratory, they could see the automated defense turrets turning toward the empty sky. The station's computer systems were picking up something, but there was nothing visible yet. That somehow made it worse. Dr. Bo-Ra had read every report about the Devourer that the Council had released. She knew what was coming. The creature was 12 feet tall and covered in black armor that seemed to eat light itself. It had 6 arms, each one ending in claws that could cut through battle-grade steel. Its eyes burned like small suns, and when it moved, the ground shook. But the worst part was not how it looked. The worst part was how smart it was. This was not some wild animal acting on instinct. The Devourer planned its attacks. It studied defenses and found weak points. It seemed to enjoy the hunt almost as much as the kill. Any response to our distress? Call, Dr. Bo-Ra asked, trying to keep hope in her voice. Hyun-woo shook his head. Captain Taemin from the GSV Horizon responded. But he is 3 hours away. Maybe more. 3 hours. Dr. Bo-Ra looked at their defenses on the monitor screen. Automated turrets, reinforced blast doors, and an emergency shield generator. All. Top-quality equipment. But she had seen what the Devourer did to military bases with 10 times their firepower. The first explosion came without warning. The entire station shook, and several of Dr. Bo-Ra's plant samples fell from their shelves. Glass containers shattering on the floor. Emergency lights began flashing throughout the facility. It's here, Hyun-woo whispered, staring at his readings. Energy signature is off the scale. Through the security cameras, they caught their first glimpse of the terror that had been hunting across the galaxy. The Devourer was even more frightening in person than in the reports. Its black shell seemed to absorb the station's exterior lights, making it look like a moving shadow with burning eyes. When it walked, each step left deep cracks in the reinforced landing platform. The automated turrets opened fire immediately. Plasma bolts that could melt through ship armor struck the creature directly. The Devourer did not even slow down. The energy blasts seemed to disappear into its dark surface, leaving no mark at all. With casual ease, the creature reached out with 2 of its 6 arms and crushed the nearest turret like it was made of clay. Sparks flew everywhere as the expensive defense system crumpled into scrap metal. Seal the laboratory, Dr. Bo-Ra ordered, her training taking over even as fear tried to freeze her thoughts. Full lockdown protocol. Heavy blast doors slammed shut around them with a solid thunk. The laboratory was now their fortress, but Dr. Bo-Ra knew it would not hold for long. Nothing ever did. Outside, they could hear the creature working its way through their defenses. The sound of tearing metal echoed through the station's corridors. Each crash was closer than the last. The devourer was not rushing. It was taking its time, like a predator that knew its prey had nowhere to run. "Dr. Bo-Ra!" Hyun-woo called out, his voice tight with panic. "The shield generator just went offline. It tore through the power coupling." She checked her instruments. Without the shield generator, they had maybe 20 minutes before the creature could break through their blast doors. Captain Tae-min was still over 2 hours away. The math was simple and terrible. "Send another message," she told Hyun-woo. "Tell Captain Tae-min what happened here. Make sure the council knows the devourers' attack patterns. Maybe next time, people will have a better chance." The laboratory shook again, harder this time. Dust fell from the ceiling as something heavy struck the blast door from outside. Through the security monitors, they could see one of the creatures, clawed hands testing the door's surface, looking for weak points. Dr. Bo-Ra had studied many dangerous life forms in her career. She understood predator behavior. Most creatures killed for food, territory, or self-defense. But watching the devourer work, she saw something different. This creature seemed to kill for pleasure. It was not hungry or threatened. It was having fun. That realization chilled her more than anything else. The blast door groaned under another impact. Cracks began to appear in the reinforced metal. The creature was being methodical, hitting the same spot repeatedly to weaken the structure. It would be through soon. Dr. Bo-Ra looked at the self-destruct panel on the far wall. Every research station had one, in case sensitive data needed to be protected from enemy capture. She had never imagined she would need to use it. "Hyun-woo," she said quietly, "we need to consider our options." He followed her gaze to the red panel and understood immediately. His face went even paler, but he nodded. "Whatever you decide, Dr. Bo-Ra, I trust your judgment." The blast door shook again. Through the cracks, they could see one burning eye peering into their sanctuary. The devourer had found them. Dr. Bo-Ra reached for the self-destruct controls, choosing to die on her own terms rather than become another victim of the galaxy's greatest nightmare. Dr. Bo-Ra's hand stopped just inches from the self-destruct button. Through the station's emergency speakers came a sound she did not expect to hear: the roar of ship engines. Someone was landing at their platform, right in the middle of the attack. "Who would be crazy enough to come here now?" Hyun-woo asked, staring at his scanner readings. The answer came through their communication system. A calm, friendly voice spoke over the static. "Hello there. This is Jin-ho from Supply Runner, ship Blue Star. I picked up your distress signal. Are you folks all right in there?" Dr. Bo-Ra and Hyun-woo looked at each other in disbelief. A supply runner, one of the small cargo ships that carried food and materials between colonies. The pilot had flown straight into a death zone to help them. "Get out of here right now," Dr. Bo-Ra shouted into her communicator. "There is an extremely dangerous creature on this station. You need to leave immediately." "Well, I can see something big moving around out here," Jin-ho replied. His voice was surprisingly relaxed for someone facing the galaxy's most feared predator. "Looks like it could use some help, too. Poor thing seems upset about something. Poor thing." Dr. Bo-Ra could not believe what she was hearing. The man was talking about the devourer like it was a stray animal having a bad day. Through their security cameras, they watched Jin-ho's small ship land near the station's emergency bay. The devourer had heard it too. The creature turned away from the laboratory blast door and moved toward this new arrival with deadly purpose. "He is going to die," Hyun-woo whispered, watching the monster approach the landing bay. Jin-ho climbed out of his ship, wearing a simple work jumpsuit that had been patched in several places. He was an ordinary-looking man in his 30s, with kind eyes and graying hair. He carried a small toolkit and a large bag that seemed to be full of food packages. The most dangerous predator in the galaxy stood 50 feet away from him, its burning eyes fixed on this new target. Jin-ho looked up at the towering creature and did something that made no sense at all. He smiled and waved. "Hello there, big fellow," Jin-Ho called out cheerfully. "You look like you have been having a rough day." The devourer stopped walking. For the first time since the attacks began, the creature hesitated. Its 6 clawed arms, which had been raised to strike, slowly lowered to its sides. Dr. Bo-Ra watched through the cameras in complete shock. Nothing had ever made the devourer pause before. Military weapons, defensive shields, even nuclear explosions had not slowed it down. But one friendly greeting from a supply runner had stopped it cold. Jin-Ho seemed completely unaware of how unusual this was. He opened his food bag and pulled out what looked like a protein bar. "You know, I bet you have not had a decent meal in a while," he said, talking to the creature like it was an old friend. "I have got some really good stuff here. Picked it up at the Centauri markets last week." The creature tilted its massive head, studying this strange little human who showed no fear. Its burning eyes dimmed slightly, as if it was trying to understand what was happening. "I have got dried fruits from Terra Nova," Jin-Ho continued, pulling items from his bag. "Some crystallized honey from the Vegan system. Oh, and these spicy noodles that are absolutely amazing. Want to try some?" He broke off a piece of his protein bar and held it out toward the devourer. The gesture was so simple and natural that it took a moment for Dr. Bo-Ra to realize what she was seeing. A human was offering food to the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, and the creature was not attacking. Instead, the devourer leaned down closer to Jin-Ho. Its massive head moved slowly, carefully, like it was afraid of frightening this strange little being who had shown it kindness. "That's right," Jin-Ho said softly. "I am not going to hurt you. You look tired, friend. When was the last time someone offered you a meal instead of shooting at you?" Through the station's translation systems, Dr. Bo-Ra began picking up something incredible. The creature was making sounds, but they were not the roars of rage they had heard before. These were different, quieter, almost like it was trying to talk. "Hyun-woo," she whispered urgently. "Run a full translation scan on those sounds. I think it is trying to communicate." Her assistant worked quickly at his console. "I am getting some patterns," he reported. "But it is like no language in our database. The sounds are very complex." Outside on the platform, Jin-Ho had sat down cross-legged on the metal floor. He opened several food containers and spread them out like he was having a picnic. The devourer lowered itself down as well, bringing its burning eyes level with the human. "There you go," Jin-Ho said approvingly. "No need to stand around being formal. Let's just sit and have a bite together." The creature reached out with one of its clawed hands. Dr. Bo-Ra held her breath, certain she was about to watch Jin-Ho die. But the claw stopped just short of the human, hovering uncertainly in the air. "It is okay," Jin-Ho said gently. "I know you probably have not had much practice with being gentle. Take your time." Very slowly, very carefully, the creature's claw transformed. The razor-sharp edges pulled back, revealing what looked almost like fingers. It delicately picked up a piece of dried fruit and examined it closely. "Those are from Terra Nova," Jin-Ho explained. "Sweet and a little tangy. The locals there have been growing them for 300 years. Real family business, you know." The creature made another sound, longer and more complex than before. Through the translation system, Dr. Bo-Ra heard fragments of meaning. Loneliness, searching, lost. "I think it is trying to tell us something," she said to Hyun-Woo. "Boost the translation matrix. Try to get clearer readings." As the two unlikely companions shared their simple meal on the landing platform, Dr. Bo-Ra began to understand that everything they thought they knew about the devourer might be wrong. This was not just a mindless killer. This was a being capable of communication, of understanding, of responding to kindness. And somehow, Jin-Ho had seen that when no one else could. Dr. Bora worked frantically at her translation console while watching the impossible scene outside. Jin Ho was sharing his lunch with the devourer like they were old friends meeting at a cafe. The creature had completely retracted all its weapon-like claws, and its burning eyes had dimmed to a warm glow. "I am getting more coherent patterns," Hyunwoo reported from his station. "The sounds it is making are definitely language, very complex, but there are repeated elements that suggest meaning." Through their enhanced translation matrix, fragments of words began to emerge from the creature's vocalizations. Words like alone and searching and home came through clearly, but there were other concepts that had no direct translation, emotions and ideas that seemed too complex for their systems to handle. Jinho seemed to understand without needing a translation. He nodded at the right moments and made encouraging sounds as the creature struggled to communicate. "I know, friend," he said gently. "It is hard when you cannot find the words. Take your time." The creature made a long melodic sound that almost resembled singing. Through the translation system, Dr. Bora caught fragments of meaning that made her heart ache. The being was trying to share its name. "The translation is coming through as something like Last of Stars," she told Hyunwoo, in amazement. "It has a name. It has been trying to tell people its name this whole time." Outside, Jinho had somehow understood this without any technological help. "Last of Stars," he repeated carefully, trying to match the creature's pronunciation. "That is a beautiful name. I am Jinho. It means precious lake in my language." Last of Stars made a sound that Dr. Bora realized was an attempt to say Jinho's name. The translation matrix was finally starting to make sense of the creature's language patterns, and what it revealed was heartbreaking. Last of Stars had been alone for over 300 years. Its species had lived on a world that orbited a binary star system, and they had been highly intelligent beings who communicated through complex harmonic patterns. They had been peaceful, living in harmony with their environment and other species in their region of space. Then disaster struck. Their star system became unstable, and massive solar flares destroyed their world. Last of Stars had been away on a long journey when it happened, returning to find nothing but empty space where its home had been. "So you have been looking for others like you," Jinho said with deep understanding. "All this time, you have been searching the galaxy for your people." The creature nodded, a gesture that seemed universal across species. Through the translation system, it explained how it had visited world after world, calling out in its harmonic language, hoping to find survivors. But every time it approached other beings, they attacked first and asked questions later. After decades of being shot at and driven away, Last of Stars had begun to lose hope. Worse, it had started to forget who it really was. The loneliness and constant conflict had damaged its mind, turning its desperate search into confused rage. The worlds it attacked, Dr. Bora realized, speaking to Hyunwoo but loud enough for Jinho to hear through the communication system. It was not trying to destroy them. It was trying to communicate. Jinho nodded like this made perfect sense to him. "Of course," he said to Last of Stars. "When people keep shooting at you instead of listening, you start to think maybe the problem is with you. Maybe you start thinking you really are a monster." Last of Stars made a sound that the translation matrix interpreted as agreement mixed with deep sadness. For 3 centuries, it had been telling itself that it was a killer, a destroyer, because that was how everyone else saw it. The gentle, intelligent being it had once been was buried under layers of trauma and self-doubt. "But you are not a monster," Jinho continued, offering the creature another piece of food. "You are just someone who has been hurt and lonely for a very long time. There is nothing wrong with that." Captain Taemin's voice crackled through the communication system. "Research Station Alpha 7, this is the GSV Horizon. We are approaching your position. What is your status?" Dr. Bora looked at the peaceful scene outside and realized she had no idea how to explain what was happening. Captain, the situation has changed. The creature is no longer hostile. We have a human supply runner here who has made contact. There was a long pause before Captain Taemin responded. Did you say the creature is no longer hostile? The Devourer? Its name is Last of Stars, Jinho called out, having heard the conversation through the station's speakers, and it would appreciate it if people stopped calling it the Devourer. That is not very polite. As Captain Taemin's ship approached, Last of Stars began to show signs of nervousness. Its eyes brightened slightly, and its claws started to extend, before Jinho placed a gentle hand on one of its arms. They are friends, Jinho assured the creature. I promise they will not hurt you. But if you want, we can ask them to keep their weapons powered down when they dock. Dr. Bora quickly sent a message to Captain Taemin explaining the situation and requesting that his crew approach without any show of force. To his credit, the captain agreed immediately, though she could hear the confusion in his voice. When the GSV Horizon docked with the research station, Captain Taemin and his crew entered to find Jinho and Last of Stars still sharing their meal. The creature had begun to remember more of its original nature, and it was teaching Jinho simple words in its harmonic language. This is impossible, Captain Taemin whispered to Dr. Bora. That thing destroyed 3 colonies. That being was looking for its family, Dr. Bora corrected gently, and it found something better. It found someone who cared enough to listen. As the day continued, Last of Stars began sharing knowledge that amazed the research team. Its species had possessed advanced understanding of stellar mechanics, space-time manipulation, and energy systems far beyond current galactic technology. But more importantly, they had been guardians, protectors of younger civilizations in their region of space. Jinho listened to all of this with the same patient kindness he had shown from the beginning. So you were trying to help people, he said, just like you are helping us now by sharing what you know. For the first time in 300 years, Last of Stars was not alone. And for the first time in galactic history, someone had conquered the most feared predator in space with nothing more than a kind word and a shared meal. Captain Taemin stepped carefully onto the landing platform where Jinho sat cross-legged next to the galaxy's most feared creature. His military training told him this was insane, but the evidence was right in front of him. The Devourer was gently holding a container of crystallized honey, examining it with obvious curiosity. Captain, Jinho called out cheerfully, I would like you to meet my new friend, Last of Stars. Last of Stars, this is Captain Taemin. He came here to help rescue the research team. The massive creature looked up at Captain Taemin and made a series of musical sounds. Through the improved translation system that Dr. Bora had been working on, the words came through clearly. Greetings, protector of small ones. Thank you for caring about the safety of others. Captain Taemin stood, frozen in amazement. The creature that had terrorized 3 star systems was thanking him for trying to protect people. It can talk. Of course I can talk, Last of Stars replied, its voice now clear through the translation matrix. I have been trying to talk to everyone for 300 years, but most beings prefer to shoot first and ask questions later. Dr. Bora emerged from the station with Hyunwoo, both carrying recording equipment. Captain, you need to hear this. Last of Stars has been telling us about its species. They were not destroyers. They were guardians. Over the next several hours, Last of Stars shared its story with growing clarity as its memories returned. Its people, the Resonants, had been highly advanced beings who lived in harmony with cosmic forces. They could manipulate energy patterns on a stellar scale and had appointed themselves as protectors of younger civilizations. We watched over 17 different species in our region of space, Last of Stars explained while Jinho continued, sharing various snacks. When solar storms threatened their worlds, we would redirect the energy. When asteroid impacts endangered their cities, we would alter the trajectories. We were the guardians between the darkness and the light. The cosmic disaster that destroyed their homeworld had been beyond even their advanced abilities to prevent. A massive gravitational anomaly had torn apart their binary star system, creating an energy cascade that consumed everything within 50 light years. I was on a monitoring mission near the galactic core when it happened. Last of Stars continued, its voice heavy with old pain. By the time I returned, there was nothing left. No worlds, no stations, no other survivors. Just empty space and the echo of dying stars. Captain Taemin listened with growing amazement as the creature described technology that surpassed anything in the current galaxy. Energy manipulation systems that could reshape solar systems, communication networks that spanned thousands of light years, and healing technologies that could repair damage on a molecular level. But after the disaster, I began to forget, Last of Stars admitted. The loneliness ate at my mind like acid. Every world I visited, I called out in our harmonic language, hoping to find others. But the beings I encountered heard only noise and responded with violence. Jinho nodded with understanding. So you started thinking maybe they were right. Maybe you really were dangerous. Yes, Last of Stars replied sadly. After decades of being attacked wherever I went, I began to believe I was the monster they said I was. I forgot my purpose as a guardian and became what they expected, a destroyer. Dr. Bora was frantically taking notes while recording everything. This changes our understanding of interspecies contact completely, she told Captain Taemin. We have been treating first contact situations as potential threats instead of opportunities for communication. The revelation had implications that went far beyond one creature's tragic story. If the resonance had been guardians protecting younger species, then their knowledge could help current galactic civilization defend against cosmic disasters that were beyond their current abilities. The solar flare that hit the mining colonies in Sector 5 last year, Captain Taemin said suddenly. Could your people have prevented something like that? Last of Stars tilted its head thoughtfully. A simple solar flare? Yes, that would have been easy to redirect. We would have built a magnetic deflection array and guided the energy into empty space. No one would have been hurt. Hyunwoo looked up from his communication console. Captain, I am getting messages from the Galactic Council. They want to know our status and whether the Devourer has been contained. Tell them the situation has changed dramatically, Captain Taemin replied. We are no longer dealing with a hostile entity. We are dealing with a refugee who needs help, not containment. Last of Stars made a sound that the translation system interpreted as gratitude mixed with surprise. A refugee, it repeated slowly. I had not thought of myself that way. But yes, I suppose that is what I am. The last survivor of a dead civilization, looking for a new home. Jinho smiled and patted one of the creature's massive arms. Well, you have found friends now. That is a good start toward finding a home. Over the following days, Last of Stars began demonstrating some of its abilities. It repaired damaged equipment on the research station using energy manipulation techniques that Dr. Bora could barely comprehend. It showed them how to improve their shield generators by factors of hundreds, and it identified several potential stellar hazards in their region of space that could threaten colonies in the coming years. This knowledge could save millions of lives, Dr. Bora told Captain Taemin privately. But more than that, it shows us how much we still have to learn about peaceful coexistence with other species. The reports Captain Taemin sent to the Galactic Council caused an uproar. Some members refused to believe that the Devourer could be anything other than a threat. Others saw the potential benefits of the creature's knowledge and wanted to exploit it for military purposes. But Jinho remained focused on what he saw as the most important aspect of the situation. Last of Stars is not a weapon or a tool, he told anyone who would listen. It is a person who has been alone and scared for 3 centuries. What it needs most is friendship and understanding, not more people trying to use it. The creature seemed to understand this perfectly. Despite offers from various military organizations to join their fleets and requests from research institutions to submit to detailed study, Last of Stars chose to stay with Jin-Ho. He was the first being in 300 years to offer me food instead of violence, Last of Stars explained to Captain Taemin. He saw me as a person when everyone else saw only a monster. That kind of kindness is more valuable than all the advanced technology in the galaxy. As news of the friendship between the human supply runner and the former terror of space spread throughout the galaxy, it began to change how different species viewed each other. The story proved that even the most seemingly impossible differences could be bridged with patience, kindness, and a willingness to listen. Jin-Ho continued his supply runs, but now he had a companion who could protect trade routes and help with emergency rescues. Last of Stars had found not just friendship, but a new purpose that honored its species' legacy as guardians and protectors. The monster had become a guardian once again, and it had taken nothing more than a human offering to share his lunch. 3 months after the encounter at Research Station Alpha 7, the galaxy was buzzing with stories about the human who had befriended the Devourer with kindness and snacks. News networks across dozens of worlds featured interviews with Dr. Bo-Ra and Captain Tae-min, while Jin-Ho himself remained mysteriously hard to find for reporters. That was because Jin-Ho was busy doing what he had always done, running supplies between colonies and space stations. The only difference now was his traveling companion. Last of Stars had taken up residence in the cargo bay of Jin-Ho's ship, the Blue Star, though the vessel had been significantly modified to accommodate its new passenger. Supply Runner Blue. "Star, this is Centauri Station Control," came the voice through Jin-Ho's communication system. "You are cleared for docking at Bay 7, and please tell your passenger that our children are very excited to meet them." Jin-Ho smiled as he guided his ship toward the space station. Word had spread quickly that Last of Stars was not the monster people had feared, but a gentle being who enjoyed meeting new people and sharing stories about the cosmos. "Did you hear that, my friend?" Jin-Ho called back to the cargo bay. "The kids want to meet you again." Last of Stars made a pleased humming sound that vibrated through the ship's hull. During their last visit to Centauri Station, the creature had spent hours with a group of young students, teaching them about stellar formations and showing them how to create beautiful light patterns using basic energy manipulation. As they docked, Jin-Ho reflected on how much had changed. The Galactic Council had officially reclassified Last of Stars from a Class Omega threat to a special diplomatic entity. Dr. Bo-Ra had published papers that revolutionized the field of xenobiology, focusing on trauma-based behavioral changes in intelligent species. Her work was already being used to develop new protocols for first contact situations. Captain Taemin had been promoted and now headed a new division focused on peaceful conflict resolution. Instead of sending battleships to deal with unknown threats, the Galactic Navy was learning to send diplomats and translators first. But perhaps the most significant change was in how different species throughout the galaxy viewed each other. The story of Jin-Ho and Last of Stars had become a symbol of hope, proving that understanding could triumph over fear. "Jin-Ho," Last of Stars called out as they unloaded cargo containers filled with medical supplies and food. "I am detecting some unusual energy patterns from the outer system. They are similar to the signatures that appear before solar storm activity." This was another benefit of their partnership. Last of Stars could sense cosmic phenomena that human technology could barely detect. Over the past months, the creature had helped predict and prevent 3 different natural disasters that could have endangered colonial settlements. "Should we notify the station authorities?" Jin-Ho asked, already knowing the answer. "Yes, but it is not urgent," Last of Stars replied. "The storm will not reach this system for several days. Plenty of time to establish proper shielding for the outer mining platforms." Hyun-woo, who had transferred from the research station to work with Centauri Station's communication department, met them at the docking bay. "Jin-Ho, Last of Stars, perfect timing. We have been having some problems with the Korthak traders again." The Korthak were a warrior species that had been in conflict with several other races for decades. They were proud, aggressive, and traditionally solved disputes through combat. Recent trade negotiations had been going poorly, with threats of violence escalating on both sides. "What kind of problems?" Jin-Ho asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "They are claiming the human colonies are cheating them on mineral prices," Hyun-Woo explained. "Their ambassador is demanding combat trials to settle the dispute. The human negotiators are ready to call in military support." Last of Stars tilted its massive head thoughtfully. "The Korthak value strength and honor above all else. But they also respect those who show courage in the face of danger. Perhaps this is a situation that requires a different approach." Jin-Ho grinned. "You thinking what I am thinking, friend?" "That we should invite them to dinner?" Last of Stars replied, with what Jin-Ho had learned to recognize as the creature's version of a smile. 2 hours later, Jin-Ho and Last of Stars sat across from Ambassador Grex, the Korthak representative, in Centauri Station's main conference room. The ambassador was an imposing figure, 7 feet tall with chitinous armor and 4 arms, each ending in razor-sharp claws. "You dare bring this monster to negotiate with me?" Ambassador Grex growled, his translator making his words sound even more threatening. "This is my friend Last of Stars," Jin-Ho replied calmly, unpacking his usual collection of snacks. "And I thought we might discuss your concerns over a meal. I brought some excellent spiced meat from the Rigel system, very warrior-like cuisine." Ambassador Grex looked suspiciously at the offered food, then at Last of Stars. "I know of this creature. It was called the Devourer. It destroyed whole worlds. I was lost and in pain," Last of Stars said simply, speaking directly to the ambassador without the need for translation. Its species had been gifted with universal communication abilities. "I lashed out because I had forgotten who I was meant to be. But Jin-Ho helped me remember that I am a guardian, not a destroyer." Something in Last of Stars' honest admission seemed to resonate with the warrior ambassador. "You admit to weakness?" Grex asked, surprised. "I admit to being imperfect," Last of Stars replied. "But I also learned that accepting help from others is not weakness. It is wisdom." Over the next 3 hours, Jin-Ho watched as 2 very different beings found common ground. Ambassador Grex spoke of his people's struggle to maintain their warrior traditions while adapting to galactic commerce. Last of Stars shared stories of its species' role as guardians and the responsibility that came with great power. By the end of their meal, they had worked out a trade agreement that satisfied both sides. The Korthak would provide security services for human mining operations, while the humans would share advanced mining techniques that would help the Korthak colonize more challenging worlds. "You have shown me something today," Ambassador Grex said to Jin-Ho as they concluded their negotiations. "Your people have a saying about catching more flies with honey than vinegar. Today I learned the wisdom of that approach. As word of the successful negotiations spread, more and more conflicts throughout the galaxy began to be resolved through similar means. Species that had been enemies for generations found ways to work together, inspired by the example of a human supply runner and his unlikely friend. But not everyone was pleased with these changes. In the darker corners of the galaxy, certain factions watched with growing alarm as their profitable conflicts were resolved peacefully. Military contractors who had grown rich selling weapons to both sides of various wars saw their business drying up. General Zach Ron of the Hegemony Defense Corporation called an emergency meeting of his associates. "This human and his pet monster are destroying everything we have worked to build," he growled to the assembled representatives of various military-industrial interests. The Devourer was the perfect threat, agreed Admiral Vextar from the outer. Rim Security Force. It kept everyone afraid and willing to pay for protection. Now they are calling it a guardian and inviting it to peace talks. Then we need to separate them, General Zakron decided. Remove the human from the equation, and the creature will revert to its old behavior. Fear will return to the galaxy, and our services will be needed again. Dark plans began to form as these profiteers of conflict plotted to destroy the friendship that was bringing peace to the galaxy. They had grown rich from fear and violence, and they were not about to let a supply runner with a bag of snacks ruin their business. But they underestimated both the bond between Jin-Ho and Last of Stars, and the power of the hope their friendship had brought to billions of beings across the stars. Jin-Ho was sharing breakfast with Last of Stars in the cargo bay of the Blue Star when the attack came. They had been discussing their next supply run to the mining colonies in the Vega system when the ship's alarms suddenly screamed to life. Jin-Ho, Last of Stars said urgently, its harmonic voice cutting through the noise. I sense multiple ships approaching with hostile intent. Their energy signatures match military-grade weapon systems. Through the viewports, Jin-Ho could see at least 6 heavily armed vessels closing in on their position near the asteroid fields of Centauri Prime. These were not pirates looking for easy cargo. These ships moved with military precision and carried weapons that could destroy entire space stations. Blue Star, this is General Zakron of the Hegemony Defense Corporation, came a harsh voice through their communication system. Surrender. The creature known as the Devourer, and your ship will be allowed to depart unharmed. Jin-Ho looked at his friend, who had already begun to extend its claws in preparation for battle. They want to take you away from me, Jin-Ho said quietly, but that is not going to happen. Jin-Ho, Last of Stars, replied with deep concern. These beings have powerful weapons. You should escape while you can. I will not let harm come to you because of my past. And I will not let anyone hurt my friend, Jin-Ho said firmly. We face this together, just like we have faced everything else. The first attack came without further warning. Energy blasts powerful enough to melt through. Ship armor struck the Blue Star's shields. Jin-Ho's small supply runner was not built for combat, but it had been modified with some of Last of Stars' energy manipulation technology. Hold on, Jin-Ho called out, spinning the ship through a series of evasive maneuvers between the asteroids. I am sending out a distress signal. Maybe Captain Taemin can reach us in time. But help was 3 hours away, and their attackers clearly planned to finish this quickly. The 6 military vessels spread out to surround them, cutting off any chance of escape to open space. Surrender now, General Zakron demanded, and we promise the human will not be harmed. We only want the creature. Last of Stars made a sound that Jin-Ho had never heard before. It was deep and resonant, filled with a power that made the ship's hull vibrate. I am Last of Stars of the Resonance, the creature announced, its voice somehow reaching all 6 attacking ships without need for communication systems. I was once the guardian of 17 worlds and protector of millions of beings. You threaten? The first friend I have found in 3 centuries. This I cannot allow. What happened next amazed even Jin-Ho, who thought he had seen all of his friend's abilities. Last of Stars began to glow with an inner light that grew brighter and brighter. Energy patterns that had been dormant for centuries awakened throughout its body. The creature extended its consciousness beyond the confines of the Blue Star, reaching out to touch the asteroid field around them. With careful precision, it began to manipulate the gravitational fields of the larger rocks, creating a protective barrier around their ship. Impossible, General Zakron snarled. No single being has that kind of power. The Resonants were guardians of stellar phenomena, Last of Stars replied, its voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate through space itself. What you see is but a fraction of what we could do when we work to protect, rather than destroy. The attacking ships opened fire with everything they had, but their energy blasts were absorbed and redirected by the asteroid barrier. Last of Stars was not just defending Jin-Ho and the Blue Star, but demonstrating the true power of its species when motivated by love rather than rage. But the creature was careful to use only defensive measures. Despite the attacker's hostile intent, Last of Stars refused to strike back with lethal force. Instead, it began to disable their weapon systems using precise energy pulses that overloaded their circuits without harming the crews. "Jin-Ho," came Captain Taemin's voice through their communication system. "We received your distress signal. The GSV Horizon is en route with a full diplomatic escort. Can you hold your position?" "We are doing fine here," Jin-Ho replied, watching in amazement as Last of Stars continued to neutralize the attacking fleet with elegant precision. "My friend is giving these folks a lesson in the difference between a guardian and a destroyer." Dr. Bora's voice joined the communication. "Last of Stars, we are monitoring your energy output. Are you all right? Those power levels are incredible." "I'm remembering who I was meant to be," Last of Stars replied. Its voice carried a joy that Jin-Ho had not heard since their first meeting. "For too long, I allowed fear and pain to define me. But Jin-Ho showed me that kindness is stronger than violence, understanding more powerful than weapons." General Zachron's flagship made one last desperate attempt to break through the defensive barrier. But as it charged forward, Last of Stars did something unexpected. Instead of destroying the attacking vessel, the creature reached out with its consciousness and gently embraced the ship, surrounding it with the same protective energy it used to shield Jin-Ho. "Why?" General Zachron asked in confusion as his weapons failed to function. "Why do you protect us when we came to capture you?" "Because that is what Guardians do," Last of Stars replied simply. "We protect all life, even those who mean us harm. My friend Jin-Ho taught me that responding to hatred with more hatred only creates more pain, but responding with kindness can transform enemies into friends." When Captain Taemin arrived with his diplomatic escort, he found the attacking ships surrounded by gentle energy fields that had rendered them harmless but unharmed. The crews were safe, their vessels intact, but completely unable to continue their assault. "General Zachron," Captain Taemin said over an open communication channel, "you are under arrest for attempted kidnapping and assault on a diplomatic entity. However, Last of Stars has requested that you and your crews be treated with mercy." In the aftermath of the failed attack, something remarkable happened. The story spread throughout the galaxy not as a tale of military victory, but as an example of how true strength came from choosing protection over destruction. Several of General Zachron's own crews defected, inspired by Last of Stars' example of mercy toward those who had tried to harm it. The military-industrial complex that had profited from galactic conflicts found itself facing a new kind of opposition, one that fought with compassion rather than weapons. Jin-Ho and Last of Stars established the Interspecies Empathy Institute on a small world in the Centauri system. It became a place where beings from across the galaxy could come to learn that differences in appearance, culture, and biology were not barriers to friendship. Dr. Bora became the Institute's head of research, studying how emotional connections between species could overcome centuries of mistrust. Hyun-Woo developed new communication protocols that focused on understanding feelings and intentions rather than just translating words. Captain Taemin established a new branch of the Galactic Navy dedicated to peaceful conflict resolution using the principles demonstrated by Jin-Ho and Last of Stars. But the most important change was in how ordinary beings throughout the galaxy viewed each other. The story of a human supply runner who had conquered the most feared predator in space, with nothing more than kindness and snacks, became a legend that inspired countless acts of compassion. On quiet evenings at the Institute, Jin-Ho and Last of Stars could often be found on the observation deck, sharing a simple meal while watching the stars. The former terror of the galaxy had become its greatest guardian of peace, and the humble human who had seen past the monster to find the person within had shown the entire cosmos that sometimes the smallest gestures could create the most profound changes. Do you ever regret it? Jinho asked one evening as they watched a new group of students from 6 different species working together on a project. Regret what? Last of Stars replied, its voice warm with contentment. Giving up being the most feared creature in the galaxy to become a teacher and peacemaker. Last of Stars made the harmonic sound that Jinho had learned meant deep happiness. My friend, I was never truly feared. I was pitied, even by those who fled from me. But now, for the first time in centuries, I am loved. That is worth more than all the power and fear in the universe. Jinho smiled and offered his friend another piece of crystallized honey. Well, when you put it that way, I think we made the right choice. Above them, the stars shone down on a galaxy that was slowly learning that the greatest strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the courage to extend a hand in friendship to those who seemed different, frightening, or lost. And it all began with a simple human who believed that everyone, no matter how scary they might appear, deserved to be offered a snack and treated with kindness.